Okay, it's looking good. One aspect of this sprint program is how to start creating a college list. And this might even be the most challenging part of the college admissions process because you do it in the beginning and it just sounds so overwhelming. So you want to take this in bite-sized pieces. And what are you looking for in a school? Now, people are looking for different things in their colleges, and they might actually be looking for several of these different qualities in their college. So let's just go through this list and think about what you are looking for in a school. It'd be great if you wanted to take some notes. Maybe the first factor that students are looking for is the size of the school. Some people really know from the get-go that they want to go to a small school. Maybe they don't know what kind of small school, or maybe they do. For example, we're going to talk a little bit about small liberal arts schools. But there's also small religious schools, small technical schools. But maybe you want the advantages of a smaller school and maybe in a smaller community. And then there are students that want the big school, whether it's a tier 1 research university or they want that University of Alabama Roll Tide football team. They want all the activities that go on in a big school. And sometimes those are accompanied with large class sizes too. Okay, and then there's the medium school. Some schools like Santa Clara, they call their medium university a master's university. It's just in between. It's not large, it's not small, maybe 5,000 students or so. So then the next thing to look for is the majors that might be available in different schools, because not all majors are available in all schools. So you want to be very careful. If you know exactly what you want to do, for example, fashion design is not at all schools. Engineering is not at all schools. It's not at all the liberal arts colleges. So you might want to narrow down your decision by the majors that are available for all schools. There's also rankings and selectivity. There's location. That can be a big one for students. The major declaration process, how you go about declaring your majors, how easy it is to switch. Then we're going to again talk about the research schools versus the liberal arts schools. Then you could look at the graduate students on campus. In other words, is it primarily an undergraduate school where all opportunities will be for undergraduates, or are there also graduate students on that campus? And then we'll look at cost.
So like Karin already kind of started us off with, is talking about school size. This is a huge one. Some people, are really interested into that, like UT Austin, more public school, very spirited vibe with, maybe more than 80,000 students. Like that's crazy. That's a lot of students, right? So that could be a con of attending a school like that, is that it's easier to get lost or to stand out. It might be harder to get a house on campus. But there's also a lot of pros. There's a lot of types of students there, several research opportunities, and you can find small communities in those big schools for sure.
In that case, you might want to look at what is the Greek life like on campus. Do they have a Greek life? Do they offer frat row, right? I know some schools are located where, for example, UC San Diego, where the county itself does not allow frat rows. So they don't have any sort of sorority housing, so you won't get that sorority living experience. So maybe if you really, really want to be a part of a sorority house, maybe that's not the right school for you. Um, on the other hand, if you're looking for that party lifestyle, maybe schools like USC, which is kind of known for their party culture, maybe that's something you want to look into. But otherwise, if you're more into that little college town lifestyle, maybe schools like Williams College is a very small college located in the Northeast, and it is surrounded with beautiful mountains. Its campus has only a few thousand students, so you really get close with the community, and everyone pretty much stays on campus. So you have that little town, college town feeling.
Colleges you should apply to, and we break them down into 3 categories. The first category I'm going to call the sure bet category. Sometimes you'll hear that is safety schools, but I really want you to know that a school that you can get into and that you know that you're going to get into doesn't have to be considered a safety school. I mean, this could be a school that you really want to go to. And lots of top high-performing valedictorian top test score students go to these sure bet schools or these safety schools. This is a school that you know you're going to get into because you've looked at the percentages of students that get in, might be 80% of students that get in and they have these test scores. And it might be your local state university and you know you're going to get into there. So you could call that a safety school, or you could call it a sure bet school, because I think if you end up going to that college, you don't ever want to think that you ended up at your safety school. You want to know that you made that choice for specific reasons. And one of those specific reasons might be that you got a phenomenal scholarship. If you want to go to med school, you're going to pay $400,000 for med school, then you might want to go to an undergraduate program where you're going to get a great scholarship and be at the top of the pack and have those great opportunities. The next category would be a match school. This is when your test scores and your GPA are within the mid-range of accepted students, but maybe they accept fewer students. You know, they're at a 50% acceptance rate or less. So you think you're going to get in, but you're not exactly sure. But so you think it's a good match. Those would be your match schools, but they're not necessarily a sure bet school. And then the last category we have here is the reach school, often called the dream school or the long shot school. So these are colleges that have a very low acceptance rate. And really, any college that has an acceptance rate of 20% or less would be considered a reach school. Even if you have perfect test scores and perfect GPA, these colleges are looking for a lot, and they're looking for a very diverse group, not just everyone who has a perfect test score or perfect GPA. So it's a reach, and you don't ever want to just apply to reach schools. You want to make sure that you are applying to colleges in each of these different categories so that you have options. One thing I wanted to note about that in your sure bet schools, often they're your rolling universities too. So for you rising seniors, make sure that you are applying to a few universities that have rolling admissions. That means as soon as you submit your application, you will hear within maybe 3 weeks or 6 weeks. Not that you're not going to hear until April 1st of next year, because you want to have some of those acceptances that you have kind of under your belt. It reduces the stress a lot rather than just applying to all those sure bet schools.